You're listening to The Manning Report with your host, James David Manning. The news behind the headlines.
Want to get started with Elizabeth Warren says that Tribulation Trump should be impeached. And she was out in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Ever been to Fort Wayne? She was in Fort Wayne, Indiana with, I think, Chris Hayes of MSNBC last evening in a town hall meeting out there with a bunch of, actually in the heart of Trump territory. It's surprisingly Indiana and connected to Ohio is Trump country, Fort Wayne. She went right into the heart of it, held a news conference there, a town hall rather, with Chris Hayes. I'm going to let you listen to one of the persons from the audience ask Elizabeth Warren about the impeachment of Trump, and she was ready for this one. Watch this, Mr. Engineer. Roll clip number 1.
Tonight, when an Indiana voter asked Senator Elizabeth Warren about impeachment, she said this.
The Mueller report came out, and the afternoon it came out, I sat down and started reading it. And I read it all afternoon, and I read it all night, and I read it into the next morning, all 448 pages. I got to the end, and there were 3 things that are just, man, there's no avoiding them. Part 1, a hostile foreign government attacked our 2016 elections for the purpose of getting Donald Trump elected. Part 2, then candidate Donald Trump welcomed that help. And Part 3, when the federal government tried to investigate Part 1 and Part 2, Donald Trump, as president, delayed, deflected, moved, fired, and did everything he could to obstruct justice. If he were any other person in the United States, based on what's documented in that report, he would be carried out in handcuffs. Now, I took an oath of office, not to Donald Trump, not to any president. I took an oath of office to the Constitution of the United States of America. And that Constitution says no one is above the law, including the President of the United States. I get that this is politically tough. I get it. But some things are bigger than politics. And this matters for our democracy, not just now, but under the next president and the next president and the next president. We have a constitutional responsibility here, and that's to start this impeachment proceedings.
All right, I started out with this Elizabeth Warren because I think she's given the most succinct, precise, and appealing and easy to understand explanation of the impeachment issue. As you know, Queen Nancy Pelosi, of the Speaker of the House, is not ready to call for impeachment. Jerry Nadler, who's the chairman of the Judiciary Committee, is ready to go, but he would need the support of Nancy Pelosi to order me to go forward. I think they're going to get there probably by July. Will be in impeachment mode. But I thought that Elizabeth Warren gave a concise and well thought out, well articulated example. She said, number 1 of the 448 pages, which I have not read either. But of the 448 pages, here's what comes out very clear, that a foreign government, namely Russia, actually did, according to our intelligence agencies, did attack our government and did attack the 2016 election with the purpose of putting Tribulation Trump in. They just weren't there to sow mayhem and chaos. They had a purpose behind their attack and interference with our election, and it was to put Trump in order and in office. That was number 1. She made that clear. And I think a summation of what I've heard everybody else say about Part 1 of the Mueller report agrees with that. The 17 intelligence agencies and the present intelligence director of national intelligence, Dan Coates, says it's true that Russia did, and we have seen and heard with our own very eyes with the Trump Tower meetings, with Paul Manafort's ties to the Russian oligarchs, with Trump and Kislyak, and with Don Jr. and the Trump Tower meeting, and George Papadopoulos and Mike Flynn. We've seen it. We saw what happened with that Russia did make an attempt. Number two, she says, Elizabeth Warren says that once it became known to Trump, who was a scoundrel, a degenerate, that Russia was trying to help him, he welcomed it. Hey, how about this? Russia, if you can get Hillary's emails, send them. Russia, if you're listening and you got Hillary's emails, we'll take them. That was the welcome. That was one that we publicly know about. There are probably countless hundreds of others that we don't know about. The Seychelles meeting with the founder of the Blackwater terrorist group, and Mike Flynn meeting, and Mike Flynn working with the Russian oligarchs and with Putin and directly, that Trump did welcome. Come on, help me. If you can help me win, help me win. And then thirdly, once it became known that this has taken place, Trump took several measures to obstruct the investigation into his collusion with Russia and the 2016 election. And so he should be impeached. And she stated, were he any other person, that he'd be carried out in handcuffs. He already got orange hair. They put that boy in a big fat orange jumpsuit. And that would be the end of that. But there is, and this is all information that is completely independent, and it is completely separated from any idea of a deep state. It's completely separated from any idea of Democrats versus Republicans, and completely separated from the fact that, especially item number two and number three, completely separate from the idea that, well, Hillary and the Democrats cooked up this Russia investigation thing to try to entrap Trump. Well, maybe they did. But then what Trump has done since then, and item number three outlined by Elizabeth Warren, is grave for the obstruction of justice, and therefore he should be impeached. How soon it's going to take place? I think it'll take place soon enough. And it very well should, and one may wonder why. There are several reasons why. I don't know if America can ever be put back together again. I really don't know if that can take place. I mean, if you're a historian, if you've done any casual study of the Civil War, for Lincoln to put America back together again after the two forces of the South and the North, the Union force, the Confederate forces, clashed with 60,000. What was the number of people that died? I forget. 60,000 was one day at Gettysburg. I think over 400,000 over the course of the war, and several million that were wounded and maimed, and property loss, and a lot of other grievous things that took place. I'm just being told that the number of people that were killed in the Civil War was 640 to 700,000 people that were killed in. And Lincoln attempts to put America back together again has, even at this point, has not really put Humpty Dumpty back together again. America has gone on. I think the Industrial Revolution was able to do some salvation of America, and the Reconstruction Act was a bit of helping putting America back together again. But at this point, we have also now a civil war where we don't have the body count that we had in the first Civil War. We have a civil war. And with the impeachment of Trump, we're not going to have a finer and greater and more improved America. We're just going to have more chaos. But that does not mean that Trump should not be impeached. He should be impeached. And he will be. There's no doubt about it. He will be. It's just right now, as Brooke Benton should come in and sing, it's just a matter of time. Or as the old French proverb will say, quelle a-t-il, or time will tell. So we'll see how Elizabeth Warren, who's seemingly hanging in there as number 4 in the Democrat presidential primary status, we'll see how far she's going to be able to get with her process. This is a bit of a news blog we do, looking at spiritual wickedness in high places for the most part, making some observations about it and giving people a biblical foundation to the way of interpreting, rather than have Sean Hannity or Laura Ingraham or Janine Pirro or Anderson Cooper or Rachel Maddow or Don Lemon, Rush Limbaugh interpret what's going on in the world. You come to me and I'll tell you based on what the Word of God says. They'll just give you their worldly, sinful view. But the Manning Report will tell you what God has said, whether to say yea or nay, whether to go or to stay. You'll be led by the word of Almighty God. Come to the Manning Report on a daily basis to interpret the spiritual wickedness in high places, because there's plenty of it that's going on. And so I'm the Lord's servant, James David Righteous Rebel Manning, and I'm here to serve you with news and information.